Hello and welcome out to this episode of Outbreak Gamers. I am WebDave, David Anthony, whatever you want to call me. I answer to anything. And I am very pleased to have with me Wandering Dutch. Dutch, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well, actually, very well. I want to bring this up because it's a funny story, actually.
Sure.
Time zone wise, I was meant to be here probably about an hour ago.
It's
If
all
not a little
right.
bit more. But obviously I actually managed to play through the first section of Crossfire's campaign,
Oh,
which is the
nice.
entirety of the Catalyst campaign. So, um, actually pleasantly surprised. But yeah, I got a little bit caught up in that, and but now I'm here, and I'm honored and thrilled to be on this show. There's been some great guests so far, so I'm really happy to get digging into it.
Well, I couldn't have a show without you here, man. That's I'm telling you that right now. So, seriously, this show is my series on influencers, video game influencers, and there's all kinds from from people that like different kinds of games, different systems, to to different all over the world. And you, obviously, where are you located?
I
Like
am
what
located.
country?
Yeah, I'm located in the UK, in a
Nice.
place called Newcastle upon Tyne, which is it's about an hour or so, maybe it's a little bit more, away from the border of Scotland.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. I noticed you had an accent. Just
Yeah.
kidding. You're like, really? No, Dave, you have an accent. What do you mean? I don't understand. Just because I'm from Kentucky. Oh shoot. Anyway, oh goodness. Well, let's get things started. I guess the question I pretty much start with everybody is I guess how did you get into gaming? I mean, like a little guy. What was your first kind of experience with gaming at all?
Yeah. So this one, this is one that I've always been proud of, and um, it's a lot of people have the same kind of experiences. Obviously, everyone's just differs a little bit because it differs in system or differs in how they were introduced, etc. But my parents used to, obviously, we used to live in the Netherlands, hence Wandering Dutch, born and raised there. But even before I was born, my parents used to have the like really old consoles. I keep forgetting the name of them now. The tape deck console where you had to rewind it to play the game again, and you know
Wow.
that
Yeah,
old.
yeah, yeah.
um, so they started doing that stuff when they would come in from work and they'd play on games and things together. And obviously, when we were born, that kind of stuff was kind of put to the side because they had more important things to do, raise us specifically in work. Um, but after that, obviously, when I was growing up, the first kind of gaming I did and how I was introduced to it was actually on the PC. It wasn't console gaming. Um, my father was a big, massive flight sim enthusiast, huge flight sim enthusiast. So we had the old Microsoft force feedback joysticks,
Wow,
then
that's
the
cool.
force feedback controllers and everything. Like he collected all of them. Then you had literally every time a new GPU came out, you used to go and get it. Like remember the old Voodoo graphics cards and or
Yes.
3DFX graphics cards and things.
Hmm.
So there was just boxes, and same traits here because I end up with boxes, mountains of boxes of different things from technology, and he was
Yeah.
exactly the same on top of the computer. Them big old computer cabinets that you used to have, the
Hmm.
wooden things where you had the computer in the middle and the big doors on the sides of them and things. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and they used to have all the boxes of all the different GPUs on the top of it and collect them all. But first thing for gaming was PC gaming, and it was the likes of even Monkey Island. You had the Monkey Islands. You had Little Big Adventure on PC. Heart of Darkness.
Hmm.
Very old games, of course. Now a lot of point and click adventures. You had the Blade Runner game as well when that first
Cool.
came out. But Flight Sim was the first main one. He always played Flight Sim, then Combat Flight Sim, and then Il-2 Sturmovik when that came out. And it was just, yeah, that was my first real introduction into it. My first kind of, and then play again, dial up internet times as well. So trying to play online and any of these things, someone picks up the phone, gone.
Gone. Yep. Yep. Uh,
But yeah, so that was my introduction into gaming, the PC route, believe it or not, not console.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's got to start somewhere. Some people, it's the arcade.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, and there's a few people I know of that to this day they're it was like 2 or 3 years ago that they started playing games, and I'm like, wow, it just
Yeah.
wasn't their thing. It really wasn't in their, I guess, path or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, yours worked out pretty good for you so far. So
Yeah.
so yeah, so I guess what kind of, I guess, career have you had? What do you do for a living, and what started was like your first kind of job and stuff, and what have you done?
Right. Okay. So I've done quite a bit. Obviously, when you first leaving school, college, etc.
Right.
I'm not one that qualified with degrees. I'm not academically certified, um, but I've always been an active learner. So
Hmm.
you sit us in front of a load of paperwork. It's not how I learn. If you
Hmm.
show us how to do something or tell us to learn how to do something myself, which is why I'm really good with computers and why I'm really good with technology, because if I take something apart and then put it back together again, that's me. I learn that thing, and the more I do it and the more I repeat it, the better I get at it. To the point
Nice.
where then I'm completely fluent with doing it. If you
Hmm.
just shove a load of text in front of us, I don't learn. So it's never been my forte to do that type of stuff. So I had your typical kind of jobs when anyone leaves school, bar work. So I worked in a bar doing bar staff things, and I worked at a I did was essentially internet admin slash server maintenance for Jennings Ford Direct,
Wow.
um, which was second. So that was Ford in the UK, but it was like more of a dealership Ford, so like a chain.
Right.
So doing all the online kind of web pages and stock, etc., and obviously their servers in the background. Um, then I had the Marines for 2 years, the Royal Marines. Started off as a reservist, but was in that for 2 years. Unfortunately, medically pulled out because I had really put my back out, and even to this day,
Mm.
it's not the best. And with the likes of what would be classed as special forces, high trained, you carry essentially your weight, if not more than your weight, on all at all times.
Right.
Um, so doing that was not really the best course of options, and it wasn't putting too much of a strain on the back. It wouldn't be an optimal fighting candidate, put it that way. Um,
Right.
I've continued, um, and after that, actually, originally the only reason I went into the Marines, and this is a kind of an in-depth one into it, I originally wanted to be in the RAF.
Mm.
I couldn't be. I knew I couldn't be a pilot. Not due to qualification, because you can actually go in and then build yourself up that way. I've got family members that have done that, even with eyesight. In the UK, even with your eyesight, if you wear glasses, you can't start off being a pilot. However, if you progress steadily up there, they
Hmm.
can actually then kind of waiver that and say, "Right, you've been here long enough. We're going to give you the opportunity to study to do that."
Right.
Uh, so I've had family that do that, have been in the RAF, etc. But I
Hmm.
couldn't go even to the RAF regiment because I'm colorblind.
Oh
Um,
goodness.
and RAF regiment are trained in bomb disposal as well. So obviously, you don't want
Red,
to, yeah, you
black.
don't,
Hmm.
you don't want that going wrong.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I was in college at the time, obviously, before that, when I went to go in originally. And my college tutor was actually a Royal Marine Major. Um, again, he was part time, but he was doing other things, things I am definitely not allowed to talk about.
Fair
But
enough.
he was a Royal Marine Major. But there was four of us at the time as well, and he kind of pulled us aside and said, "You guys are like really fit. You pretty much sailed past the Royal Marines training. Um, I think you should apply for it." And we applied. We sailed past the training with
Nice.
with ease. We seen him probably once, and then he disappeared from the unit because he was on operation.
Right.
So whoop, gone. But it always amused us because he was such a kind guy, such a nice guy, and things in college. Um, that we never seen him as kind of his bad side, or his, should we say, his military side.
Right.
Uh, and all of the guys in the unit um, feared him. He was about my height. I'm only 5'7", and this guy's only about 5'7", 5'6". Um, but they feared him. The biggest guys in the world, you could see it, and then they heard his name, and they were just like, "Oh no, he's coming back," because they knew he would put them through the ringer. They knew he'd
Right.
put them through the ringer. But I was in the Marines for 2 years, but I really enjoyed it. It's a shame that I couldn't continue, because any other time, if I hadn't had back issues, I always miss it. It's grueling when you're there, but
Right.
when you're not, you miss it. You do miss it. It's a strange
Right.
thing, a very strange thing to say.
Well, it sounds like it was
Um,
really rewarding to you.
it was, yeah. It's both physically and mentally. I mean, I can say hand on heart, physically, you'll never. And I've said this even because I do train every now and again. I haven't trained for a while with COVID, etc. But like to go to the gym, like to keep fit, etc. But no matter
Hmm.
what you do in civilian life, it does not compare to the physicalities and the fitness that you gain in being in a special unit like that in the Marines.
Hmm.
Their training is above and beyond what anybody is reasonably expected to do.
Wow.
It is,
Yeah.
it is, yeah, it is non-stop. A lot of things used that you probably see, well, meant to be banned, that you still do for training.
Right. Right.
But it conditions you. A lot of it's conditioning work. Doing
Hmm.
things the same thing for hours just to make sure you're conditioned. So you could be doing step ups, but you're doing step ups in the wind outside for like 2 hours straight.
Wow.
Um, like just up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. That's it, just for 2 hours straight.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Or again, you're just holding kind of tins of ammunition out of your arms like that in stress positions for about 20 minutes at a
Wow.
time, and then doing laps and things. It is very tough, and you feel absolutely, you dread it just before you start, but afterwards you feel really great.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but you
Adrenaline,
realize your
maybe.
level of fitness as well in normal life could
Hmm.
never get up to that point, because you haven't got people shouting at you to push you further. You haven't got a team of
Right.
people around you that are also doing the same thing and also struggling and trying to get through it. And yeah, it nothing compares in civilian training to that kind of level of fitness. Um, but after that, believe it or not, complete change of career after
Hmm.
out the forces. Um, went into brokerage work. So for the last decade, I've been a broker.
Wow.
um, so that's what I do now. I still do it to this day. So I am a broker. I am a broker for corporate energy in the UK. So I deal with I&C and blue chip companies,
Hmm.
high energy and high intensive energy companies. So talking millions upon millions of pounds worth of energy usage every year.
Wow.
Dealing with all their contracts um, and now with this carbon target that the world's got, everything to
Ooh.
do with
Yeah.
that as well. So
Wow.
vast change.
Oh yeah. It's like a 180 almost there.
Yeah,
But say you've been doing it for a while, so I guess it's something you seem to enjoy, or at least something that pays the bills enough and
yeah,
enjoyable enough.
it does. It does pay the bills. It can, to be honest, at times it can get. Sometimes it's a little frustrating. Sometimes, obviously, specifically in the industry that it is, energy. Energy is a topic no one really wants to discuss. Everyone's got
Right.
energy, they don't want to talk about it, which is
Gotta have it.
understandable. Yeah, you've got to have it, but you don't want to talk about it. It's not an entertainment
Right.
subject by any means.
Right.
Um, the little guys, the little businesses and things, they don't really care because it's pennies to them. And the big guys, they also don't care because it's not their money. So,
Right. Right.
um, so it's a weird world to work in, but it does have its rewards at times. Whether that be monetary or helping certain people out and making sure they're on the right thing and getting the right product that they require.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it is a complete 180. But what it has allowed me to do, though, as opposed to you tend to find with certain jobs, you end up with more of an appreciation for the world, different people, different experiences, the way people are, the way people react, how to judge them, how to judge somebody based on their tone of voice. You can pick up a phone, you can speak to somebody, and within probably about 10 seconds, you hear that they're having a bad day. And you just go, you know what it is? I know you sound like you're having a bad day, so I'll tell you what, we'll leave this meeting until another time. When's going to be better for you? And they
Yeah.
appreciate that. But you
Yeah.
can tell
Yeah.
that on first glance with somebody. So reading people's a lot easier these days. But yeah, it's such a like you say, a 180, complete 180.
Yeah. So what? I guess. What kind of, I guess, hours do you have to put into that? Is it something you do from home? You have to go anywhere, or
Sure. See, that's the issue with COVID over the last 2 years. It's been pretty rough. The
right?
vast majority of, especially I&C industry, big industries, either being rammed to the walls because they've been asked to do stuff in order to help with the COVID situation.
Mm-hmm.
So they've had literally no time to do anything.
Mm.
So it's pointless speaking to them because they're just like, it is, we're either producing vaccines or we're producing hand wash or we're producing masks or we're creating wood or we're creating items for the NHS or we're doing X, Y, and Z. So everyone's been in it, or it's food manufacturing. And anybody that wasn't essential, essentially in the UK anyway, was shut down for a long period of time.
Right.
So essential business, non-essential businesses, restaurants, bars, cafes, all that stuff was closed. So the industry was pretty much non-existent. So over the last 2 years, there's been significant points of time where um, essentially we haven't been working. I've just been in the house doing nothing and getting paid by the government to do nothing because
Right.
the country's shut down.
Right. Right. Right.
But that is also where Out My Show came from, because obviously we had a lot of spare time on our hands. We
You
were
did.
playing games, we were talking about games and things when we were off. There wasn't anything else we could do per se. We weren't allowed to go anywhere. There wasn't anything open. We had rules and regulations in the UK where you couldn't leave your city, you couldn't travel far, you couldn't do etc.
Well,
Um,
that's a lot stricter than it was here, or at least where
oh
I,
yeah,
I live. Yeah.
it's one, you were allowed to leave the house once a day, and that was for essential purposes, whether that be to go to the hospital or whether that be to go get your shopping in for the day or
Right.
go to the shops. And that was it. But you had to go to the shops and come straight home, and you couldn't do anything. You were allowed to go out for one bit of exercise at one point. So that was the first lockdown that we had. It alleviated a little bit over further ones. Um, but yeah, the first one was, it was pretty much, it was weird because it was just like being in essentially a place that had been abandoned because there was no cars going anywhere, nobody on the
Right.
roads, nobody walking around. So when you were going to the shops, no one was out anyway, and this was like the middle of the day every day. It was
How
such
long
a
was that?
weird thing.
How long did the first one last? I mean, the big one,
In
I
the
guess.
UK, the first one was the best part of 6 months.
Wow, man.
Yeah, it was
That's
long.
probably through the holidays, some too, right? Or some
Yeah,
kind of
it was
holiday.
from the tail end of February up until middle of the year. Then we came out of lockdown for probably about 3 months, and then went back into lockdown until the following January or February. So we had
Wow.
another long stint in lockdown, but it was a
Yeah.
little bit alleviated because a couple more things were allowed to be open at that point. We just couldn't be into other sections. So
Right.
um, and you could go out twice a day as opposed to once a day.
Wow.
Woo! Uh,
Woohoo!
so yeah, it was mad, but that's what started off kind of getting the podcast in order and starting things, and it's been such a wild 2 years creating the show and getting on different podcasts and meeting different people and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't even start like originally. I didn't start, especially on Twitter and things. I didn't start out as somebody who was going to be a content creator.
Hmm.
I think you know me. You might know me better probably from other things, which is custom consoles and stuff.
Right.
Um,
Yes. Yes.
and that is where I actually started on Twitter from. So when I came onto that, it was myself and Pope. Obviously, Xbox Pope. You'll have seen him.
Yes.
Well, was Xbox Pope. Now he's just Pope. Um, but yeah, it's myself and him, and both of us were kind of doing our own things and showing off our creations, um, and it went from there. And then obviously I got a following from that, and then set up the podcast, and it's went on. It's been crazy.
Right, right. It was I was gonna ask you how you actually got into the community, and I guess your first foray was the where you created these unique one-offs on controllers and systems.
Yeah,
I should have asked you this before we started. You don't happen to have it like a one of your creations handy, do you?
I have many actually. I have many.
Anything you just want to show the camera that would be nice to show somebody. I'm sorry, I'm gonna put him on the spot.
No, it's all right. I'm trying. Actually, 2 seconds. Wow, I can easily just get up because everything is in this room anyway. So.
Yeah, no worries. I'm making you work for it today, Dutch. Sorry.
Oh, don't worry at all. I've probably got a lot more as well, to be honest. I've got, see, my things are mostly the consoles as well, and one of them sitting right here, and the other one's all the way back there.
Right.
But this is one of the controllers that goes along with the console.
Let's see if I can. Let me get the bar off there. Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
Obviously, it is see-through as well, so you get that little bit of a see-through tint to it.
Mm-hmm.
But that goes for the Hellblade console. Oh, you bugger!
Sorry. That's awesome.
This is actually a Elite Series, essentially an Elite Series 2 conversion of a Series X controller.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow. And I love that red.
So it's everything an Elite Series 2 would do. However, it's the Series X, and a literal Series X controller, which is a nice conversion. We have the carbon fiber and blue DualSense controller.
That is so cool. That is awesome. So you have to like take all this apart and really just, and figure out what design you want and go at it, huh? Whoops. Let me try that again. Let's do whoops. How about we do this? There we go. Oh yeah.
It's a Camo Elite Series 2. And we have the other Elite Series 2. It's like white and green.
Yeah.
And then you've got
I like it.
Switch Pro controller.
Yeah.
But there's loads. Like I say, it's the consoles really that stand out because the consoles have a lot of detail in them.
Right.
A lot of detail. But it's I've teamed up the with my consoles specifically, the ones that I create for me, and mainly as a showpiece for others to kind of see and to honor different developers or different companies. I team up with Sean Labrie to do the essentially the artwork as a map. So he does the kind of design, say, right, this is what we need, etc., and this is what we're looking to do for the Hellblade Series X. We knew what we wanted to do. We were going to have, of course, the iconic tree, the big tree, like rotten tree that's from the first Hellblade. And that was going to be the centerpiece. But also wanted to have Senua in there somewhere. So we tried to figure out which panel that would look better on. It wouldn't quite suit the first one because we wanted the tree as the kind of iconic section in the middle with the Hellblade logo there. So we put Senua on the right panel. And then, of course, looked at like a more of a pop-out section. So on the Series X, the logo that was just meant to be painted on, instead of being painted on, what I did was created the logo as a 3D asset, essentially. And then obviously had lighting as a backdrop to that logo. So obviously when you've got the lighting on, then you can see the console and the design, etc. But the logo, the Hellblade logo itself, is lit up. And obviously stands out, it's embossed. Same applies for the Fable console. Design, of course, created specifically for the Fable Series S. And all of the elements, again, on the lower section are all embossed. So all the flowers are 3D, the skull's 3D, the grass and everything's 3D on it and stands out. So that was really, again, and that was in tandem with that. And then the other one that caught people's eyes was, of course, a commissioned one that I did for a friend of mine, Xbox Mick, and that was his Sea of Thieves Series S, which grew a lot of attention as well by both Ray and Windows Central Gaming, who put an article out about it. And that was, I think, mainly because it had the instead of the ugly vent that you've got on the Series S, that was turned into the Sea of Thieves skull, but it was also in complete glow in the dark.
Wow.
So obviously, when the lights go out, it literally stands out. You can just see the Sea of Thieves skull on the vent as opposed to the vent itself.
That's cool.
So yeah, that was awesome. But that wasn't pre-designed. That was just me thinking, what can I do with this to make it stand out? So I had the idea of, right, I need to get the right kind of colors that matched the limited edition controller when it came out. So the purpley greens and things like that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to incorporate something that is different, that nothing else has been done before, and nobody's done the glow in the dark elements like that. And they had a little glow in the dark skull on the controller. But obviously, I think people didn't kind of put two and two together. So the original controller had the little glow in the dark skull that was on top of it. So
Right.
of course, the console to match it would have this giant glow in the dark skull.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was. I really enjoyed doing it, though. Really enjoyed doing it, and I think people are probably surprised about the pricing, because I don't usually do it for a lot of pricing, because I actually enjoy doing it in itself.
Right.
The reason I started doing it in the first place was because I found a lot of these custom websites, these custom controller places, etc., are extremely expensive for what they produce, and a lot of the
Yes.
stuff that they make is just factory parts shipped in from China, and then they sell it with a markup price.
Right.
You see a lot of them that get shared out, and they're all pre-built things by certain companies, and they've got shells used from the company that I used for the parts, and then they sell it at like 2-3 times the price of what it would be.
Right.
I don't do that. So if it's just a standard custom controller, and I'm just using the custom parts that I can get a hold of from the my retailer, the wholesaler, then I literally just say, right, well, the custom, unless you're sending a controller to me to get customized, then
Right.
obviously you've got cost of controller.
Right.
This is how much the parts cost. I'm going to tell you the wholesale price. This is the controller. These are the costs of the parts. Tell us what you want. And then what else do you want in terms of customization? So do you want an specific image painted onto it, or do you want a specific name painted onto it, or a gamer tag, or what do you want done to this controller other than
Right.
just the parts? And then that section is what I charge for my time. So I'll be like, well, if it's a really simplistic time, then I'll be like, oh, well, it's like $10. Like, I'm not going to
Wow.
charge loads. If it's really complex, like a console anywhere between 50 and 100, because
Right.
like the Series X, the Hellblade one took us the best part of 2 weeks
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
complete. And the Series S was probably about a week or so, like consistent, because you've got to go back and wait for it to dry, then do another section, wait for it to dry, then do another section,
Right.
go over it and over it and over it.
Wow.
So they take more time, and it's more just time than anything else, other than. But yeah, I try to keep it as low as physically possible, because it's more about the artwork for me than gaining anything.
Yeah.
Usually, the vast majority of the cost anyway would go towards just paying for the paints.
Wow. Yeah. So is that something you still continue to do, or will take consignment work? I guess.
I take commissions whenever
Commission.
it's and it's not something I go out my way to do. When people see it and they say, "Oh, how much did that cost?" and I would love to get one done, I'm like, "Yeah, whenever you are ready, I mean, whenever you want to get one done, then hit us up, and I'll be game to do it. That's absolutely no problem."
It's very
I've
cool.
done ones on even just little controllers on commission. There was one for a streamer friend of mine called Fleety. I'm sure he was doing a charity stream, quite a lengthy one. I think that was about 12 hours as well, and this was probably about a year ago now. But exactly the same thing. His friends were like, right, we want to surprise him with his own controller with his logo on it and his name.
Nice.
And if you can, put the charity's logo on the back of it as well. And I was like, yeah, no problem. So I did that, sent them over to him, and they surprised him with that at the end of his stream, which was awesome to see. But that's the type of stuff I love to see.
Yeah.
And obviously, Xbox Mick has an unboxing channel, so you can go and watch him unbox his Sea of Thieves thing and seeing it for the first time, because he hadn't seen it at all. I hadn't showed him any pictures. It was a
Right.
complete. He just said, go for it. It's up to you. I trust in your design capabilities, so have fun. So you'd never seen the console until you opened it on that video. So
Very
just
cool.
watching that reaction to me was just like awesome. That's what I love the most, is just seeing people's reactions to these things.
Right. Well, that's awesome. It's got to be rewarding. It's
Yeah,
got to be.
that's the most
Well,
rewarding part. Like the
well,
money section isn't the rewarding part for me for doing
right.
these consoles. Like for me, seeing people's reactions to them is more rewarding than anything else.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll get the YouTube link from you, and then I'll put it in the show notes so that
Yeah,
people can just after the interview or whatever, they can just click on that and see it for themselves because I think it's very awesome. And I believe there's been some other channels that have had you or had you commission or a few things for doing like you said charity work or giveaways on their show, kind of
yeah,
thing, and that's great. That's and I had seen or heard of you doing a few of those, and I thought, well, that's got to be something neat. But it's cool that you still do it,
oh yeah,
and they just I guess go reach out to you, which will have all your social media and stuff and the links and stuff too, and that'd be awesome, man. That's
yeah,
fantastic. I
definitely.
like it. I like it. I like it. So from there,
Yeah.
so I mean, obviously that's awesome, and then great that you still do that too. I might have to hit you up. Way back in the day, when the Xbox 360 had the removable faceplates, you know.
Yes.
So I took my first faceplate like the week after it came out. I thought, man, and where I worked at the time was a mall, and we had a airbrush shop,
Yeah.
and the guy's like, yeah, let me have some fun with it. So he took my gamer tag, WebDave, and just oh man, it was so awesome. And then put a bunch of clear coat on it so it popped, and it was kind of one of those things where it's like if I had it either way, it had like the name long ways, and then when it's set up, it was at the bottom as well too, kind of
Oh,
thing. So it
nice.
was it was just neat, cool colors, cool stuff, But that was like to me at the time was like this is so awesome.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you where that plate is
Them
now because
faceplates were awesome. Yeah, I was going to say them faceplates were awesome, to be honest. And that's something that um, obviously PlayStation 5 has now with the removable
yes,
plates. And if you want to go and get them customized properly, it's a lot easier. You can just
yeah,
snap them off. Continue to use your console in the meantime,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
what yeah. Um, Unfortunately, Xbox don't do that now with the removable faceplates, and obviously they didn't do that with the One either.
right.
Um, but hey, it's
Sounds
it's a
like you've got a
different world now.
workaround.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's really cool. That's really cool, man. Cool. Well, I'll definitely hit you up for something. That would be neat. Um,
definitely.
so let's talk about I guess your shows and how you started getting that. You have a few shows and you have and quite a few people that you get together in the
Yes.
community, and then of course you've from that show put you on to people reaching out to you saying, hey, I want you to be on my show, and so let's talk about that. How that gets started.
Yeah, certainly. So again, going back, we started in lockdown. The likes of obviously I've known Forza Irwin and Patya and Sham and all of those for quite a number of years before we even started any of this. And it was always just going online and playing PUBG and having silly nights together and just talking about anything and talking
Yeah.
about games and obviously meeting Irwin even before we started that at XO19. Eventually meeting Irwin in real life, um, and spending some time with him at XO19. Same with Emil and a few others, which was absolutely awesome. And yeah, it was just during the lockdown. I was like, we always jump into party anyway. We spend a lot of time in party chat, with a lot of time gaming together. Um, I think we can probably do a podcast. I think it would be pretty cool. I think we all have the same kind of things. We speak out about it. We've always spoke out quite a lot anyway in our kind of private DM groups and things like that about what companies can do better or don't do well enough or doing great. So we always have our opinions anyway. Why not create a show out of it? Um, it seems to be relatively straightforward. I've hit up some like couple of people and they've said, "Oh, we use StreamYard," so that's where we started. So we started on the StreamYard. We
Yep.
started on the free version for quite a little bit of time. And
Yep.
obviously paid the extra to get that logo gone from the top and put your own overlays and your intros and things on. And so steadily, slowly but surely, we kind of increased the production value on it. But yeah, it's
Right.
just started out from friends that have I wouldn't say similar opinions because we do contrast. But yeah, we were essentially doing the same thing anyway, but without a live audience. We would talk to each other and talking about games and everything like that. And we'd just do it whilst playing games. So the only difference is now is we're doing it with a bit of an audience and without playing games. And sometimes, obviously, we change it up and play some games while podcasting. But yeah, that's how it kind of we got into it. It was just the why not?
Right. Yeah. Kind of like you're there doing it anyway. You might as well put it out for other people to enjoy. And then you started building an audience.
Yep. Yeah. Before I started the podcast itself, I put a little video out, and it's probably still in the depths of Twitter somewhere. But I just put a little video out myself saying I'd like to try and kind of start like guesting or be a guest on people's podcasts. So if anybody wants to hit us up, and straight after that, I think it was mainly just down because obviously people just knew us from custom consoles anyway. So straight after that, I was on Season Gaming, Game Beyond the Box, RDX, a little bit further down the line, Iron Lords. But literally, pretty much all of the biggest shows that were there got us on within the first month or so of doing that, and I was like, I think I'm liking this podcast and stuff, so I'll hit up the guys and we'll create our own.
Awesome. I'm glad you did, because it's a lot of fun, and you guys are very entertaining to watch.
We like to keep it different with it being European as well.
Yeah.
Obviously we can't restrict ourselves. Europeans are known for cursing, as the Americans call it. We're known for our swear words and things like that, but it's part of our day-to-day vocabulary. So
Right.
there's a lot of that goes on. It's usually, of course, it's just within sentences of being expressive, and it's not meant to be at people, of course, as everybody knows.
Right.
But it's more of an expressive thing, just to really emphasize how bad something is or how great something is. It can mean anything, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's good fun. But it's most definitely. I mean, our channel is definitely not for children.
Right.
But mainly because of that side, of course, it is. We do swear. But along that, we do try to get a whole host of guests on, whether that be just your standard content creators, going up to developers, or as we've had David Prien who's obviously the senior hardware director at Xbox. We've had Gabby Mitchell, of course, who was in charge of the likes of Design Labs, etc., when that was coming into fruition. Alan Carranza. We've had, of course, people from Ubisoft Nordic. We've had Joe Winter from Song of Iron. We've had Delilah Studios for Battletoads. We've had a good old mix of different people, and then of course you've had your big creators like your Cole Eastwoods and your Dealer Gamins and your Iron Lords, King David and Cognitos and everybody in between. We try to kind of mix it up. And we always try to kind of change the plan up a little bit every year as well. So first year it was just get as many people on as we possibly can. Try to reach out to as many people as we can. And this year we're doing it a little bit differently. So instead of having back-to-back big people, because it's quite unsustainable when you try to get a lot of big people on at the same time.
Right.
And specifically our first birthday show as well last year, which was nuts. We had the best part of 20-something creators on in over a 4-hour podcast. That included both Iron Lords. That included a game on daily for both Acer and Gaz. That included Pong Soul and Steel and Cole Eastwood and you name it. They were there, and they all dropped in different points. And it had nothing to do with games. In the end, I think we tried to discuss gaming, but it was just a mess. But it was funny, and it was a good watch.
Yeah, and that's what matters, man. Get together like we're friends.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But that was fun. But this year we're doing a bit different. So essentially what we're going to try and do now is have up and coming creators one week, or smaller creators. Then the next week we'll have bigger guests on, whether that be a big creator like a Jez Corden or a Miles, or you never know, Paris or something like that.
Right.
So we'll work them into kind of schedules where we can, but we'll try and do a week where we have smaller, then a week where we have a big guest, then a week where we have smaller. So we kind of balance the load a little bit, and then sometimes we're a week where we just do panel only.
Right.
But yeah, it's finding different things to do as well. Keep it a little bit fresh.
Yeah.
As you know, the tail end of last year specifically as well, and that wasn't just for us but for everybody. There was a part, quite a big chunk, where there was literally nothing happening in the gaming news. Nothing.
Yep.
It was dry, and every creator had the same problem. It was like, we've got these shows to run every week, but there's nothing, like no news to talk about, as it were. So we were having to come up with these elaborate conversations to have about really normal things that, like,
Yeah.
just kind of try and make a show for people. So that was a tough time, and obviously now January's been absolutely bonkers, and
Yeah.
there's no end of topics to discuss.
And it may not be for a while.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you're gonna have your hands full. So on your, I guess, the show Midweek Mixup, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Mix-up. So I almost said mashup. Sorry. Ignore me. So let's talk about some of the panelists that you have on that are regulars. So how did you get them together? And I mean, it's because it's not, you're not all from exactly the same place or the same
Yes.
you know.
All different.
Yeah,
All
exactly,
different.
which is
That's right.
great.
Yeah. So obviously the first point, the name was created obviously in a reference to us changing up the content, not just changing up the content, but changing up what we were showing every week, and
Mm-hmm.
mixing up the content, and but also mixing up the guests and mixing up where people are from, keeping it like just keeping it different. So it was a midweek mix up.
Yeah.
In our panel, we've lost 2 overall for different reasons, whether that be work related or mental health reasons and things like that, and just spending more time with themselves, which is fine. But they're still there. It's potentially in the future they might come back. But we've had friends from a guy called Breuer who started off the show with us.
Mm-hmm.
He was from Belgium. We've got Forza Irwin, who's a regular, and he's obviously from the Netherlands. We've got Patcher from the Netherlands as well. Patcher is an affiliate streamer on Twitch. Irwin is a sim racer, used to be one of the best sim racers in the world. So he really enjoys doing that. His preference is to talk about things like that and design content around that. We've got Chambelon, who's our resident teacher, and the now trainee teacher for a different reason. So he's coming back into education to teach other things now. So he's our teacher there. We've got Boxenberger, of course. Everyone knows Boxenberger. He's our resident German content creator.
Yep.
He's also awesome, extremely high quality stuff. But we just all came together. We knew each other from just on Twitter and talking games and things like that. And it's been a long time, and eventually getting to know each other kind of a little bit more. And then we're just like, right, okay, well, once we got on this podcast, then it was just constant. So it was just like, okay, helping each other with different things and growing it out a little bit more. Then we got Chris Grinnell for a little bit. But Chris Grinnell, if people don't know, he obviously used to work for Sony Liverpool. Then, obviously, when they shut Sony Liverpool down, he created his own business, which is more a sports tech company. So creating kind of web apps and web stores and applications for football clubs and, or as you know them, soccer clubs in the UK. Large ones as well, like Premier League clubs, which is kind of the highest you can go. So the bigger that got, obviously, the less time he had to do podcasts and things like that. So he stepped away. So that's understandable. Then we got Vin on, Hertog Vin, who completely new to. So he obviously played games, but he'd never played games to the extent that a lot of other people had before. And he also had never done any kind of streaming or podcasting or anything before. So he was brand new. He was, again, as you know, Vin's probably one of the, to anybody watching the stream, unless you're native Dutch, or German or Belgian or Flemish, it's going to be hard to kind of understand Vin at sometimes because it is my
Sometimes.
first language. But I think help, and this is the good thing about what I've liked about our show as well, and the likes of Patcher and Vin. Um, Myself, Erwin, and Boxenberger have always been, even Shom, have always been relatively confident in the way we talk, and talk to each other and talk on chat and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But Patcher and even Vin have been, should we say, a little bit less confident in themselves, less, specifically when we were starting out, a little bit more quiet, a little bit more reserved.
Right.
And the more it's went on over the last almost 2 years now, they've really grown in confidence, and that's one thing I like to see as well, is watch these people grow into and become more confident in themselves and
Mm-hmm.
go up and do their own things and create things for themselves and grow their own communities, and that's been awesome to see. And Vinnan
Yeah.
himself is getting better with his English every week and
Mm-hmm.
understanding of things and um, understanding of the industry and different games and what he expects to see. And he's again being able now to form great opinions about certain things because he's learned a lot from doing the shows with us. So
Right.
it's been awesome.
But then every now and again, he will say something that's totally like,
Wild.
what?
Yes.
And to him, it's like, he looks at you, everybody else kind of like, what? Was
Yeah.
it something I said? But it's pretty
Yeah,
funny.
we've
So,
introduced thanks to Boxenberger who created a nice little animation for him now, but now we've introduced a timeout for Vin. So when he says something that's too derogatory, we do give him the big old timeout on screen.
that's so funny. That's so funny. That's
And
so
we're
funny.
going to give him his own timeout emoji as well soon in the chat, which is going to be even
Yeah.
funnier.
That's
So
awesome.
everybody in the chat can time him out.
Is he like, and this is what you're out for?
Yeah,
Oh goodness, kind of like a red card or something, right?
yeah, yeah.
Uh, so
Penalty.
so penalty box. There you go. So with that, I guess, and you've been, I guess you've been a guest co-host, panelist on several other shows, and then you do one which is where I first saw you at, was
Yeah,
on one of Boom's shows.
yeah.
So tell us how that come about, and you do a great job, by the way. I enjoy watching you, listening to that the night that I was on, which was
Yeah.
awesome. And as soon as you were in there, it was like, hi Dutch. You're like, this is crazy, mother.
No, no,
So
no. It was awesome. It was awesome
yeah.
being on with yourselves as well, and it's great. The thing is much like ourselves, who we like to bring on kind of new creators. Boom's exactly the same. He brings on a lot of new people, and I'd known Boom for a long time. Again, much like I had the likes of Cole and Dealer and the Iron Lords and things. I'd known them for a number of years now. So talking to them is kind of pretty much a weekly, if not daily, occurrence at times.
Hmm.
And Boom asked us to guest once, so I went on and guested, and then asked us to guest another time, kind of later on down the line. And I was like, yeah, no problem. Um, and specifically that show afterwards, he was like, I'd really love you to be a panel member. I was like, yeah, I could do that. That's no problem. It's really late for us. So this is literally the only um, late US show that I could do because it's on the right time, whereas a lot of the US shows start 2 hours later than Boom's.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so for me, when Boom Show starts, it's midnight in the UK. So obviously it runs from midnight until sometimes 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning on Boom Show.
Wow.
Um, for if I was to start at the likes of the RDXs and Gaming Beyond the Box, etc., those don't start till sometimes 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, my time. So by the time they finish, you're talking 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. So it's like that's harder to work around.
Right.
So Booms was an easy yes. Booms got he's an awesome channel, an awesome community, and an awesome, really awesome setup. Really great guy. So yeah, it was an honor to be asked. So and it was an obvious yes from me, and I think he was surprised I said yes. I don't know why.
Well, you do a great job. You really do. I love your views, your insight, you're the way you speak. about a subject, you can tell there's some passion, some thinking behind it. It's not just, I'm just making my commentary. It's, you're there, you're in it. It's not.
Yeah.
That's what I really enjoy it. Well, let me ask you just there's a month of this off here. So if it is right now, and if anybody who watching this or listening to this, this is not the time for you. This is just a time check with him, just to see what time he's
Yes.
in now. So right now it is 6:40 p.m. Central Standard Time. So what time is it there?
It is 12:40 a.m. Yeah.
Wow,
So it's
keeping you
20
up,
to 1
aren't
in the
I?
morning.
I'm sorry.
No, no, it's fine.
Whoops. Oh, goodness.
No, it's
What time
good.
you got to be up tomorrow? That's just curious.
Thankfully, it's the weekend, so I don't have to be.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Oh goodness, goodness. Again, I was just curious. It's like pin it
Yeah.
down. So yeah. So when you did come on earlier and you were like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm running behind, and I'm like, it's fine because I appreciate your time. I really do. And this has been pretty awesome, man. I really I think it's great, man, and I love what you do. And I think that people should definitely tune into your show and watch it. It's very entertaining.
Yeah.
But not only that, one thing I want to touch on before we wrap up is that you have had some like amazing um, play videos. Like you get on and you're playing like Halo when it first came out, or was a beta test,
Yeah.
and you had this marathon stream where you had people come in for a while and then drop out, and more people would come in. You had people like on a rotation. So tell me,
Yeah.
how did that just come about? Was it just when you just started playing, recording, and people just jumping on, or what?
Yeah, so we start off with just because obviously with big team battle you can get full team of 12 and things in that.
Yeah.
So we set up and we had maybe eight. Then we seen a few other people trying to get teams together, so we invited them, and they came on, and then they would roll out, and then more would jump in, and then they would roll out, and then more would jump in, then they would roll out, and then the more people that seen we were playing because it was started streaming it, so the more people that
Mm-hmm.
seen it, then the more people would want to play. So we ended up having the party full of people, something like 18 to 20 people just sitting
Wow.
talking,
Yeah.
but eight of them were just waiting for their chance to jump into the game to be able to play. So it was just like consistent rotation, and it was constant. And then people would come in with like groups of two, and we had like only one slot available, and be like, "Oh," so we had to wait, and then it was rotation in.
Yeah.
But it was just mad. But that's what Halo really is about: is having these big old community nights.
Yes.
Um, and that's what we've tried to do a few times as well, as these big community nights where we're just like, right, okay, we're going to do a community night. We try to do them. We did them specifically the back end last year as well when it was getting a bit quieter and things. We were like, well, since there's no news, what we'll do is straight after the podcast, we'll have like a shorter podcast, like an hour and a half, 2 hours
Mm-hmm.
at most. And straight after that, we'll jump into a community night. So
Yeah.
anybody who wants to play, jump into the party. We're going to set it up. We're going to get these big custom lobbies going, and we're just going to have fun.
Yeah.
And then you end up with like I say, the best part of 20, 30 people on rotation, just consistently coming in and out all the time. But that's absolutely epic. And we had nothing too similar for the big old 24-hour charity stream as well, the tail end of last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, we had because again I started off that with that charity stream. Obviously, I'm doing it by myself, and then I had the awesome General C offering to do the entire 24 hours with us, which he did. Um, and Crazy Louis, out of the blue, he also did it as a moderator. He stayed up the entire 24 hours as well, which I didn't expect.
Right.
Um, and there was just so many people supporting it. But there was then, because of the way I'd set it up, was that me and General C would play through a part of It Takes Two. So we'd take out the aim was to try and finish the entire game on the stream.
Right.
It went a little bit longer than we thought, actually, but so we finished it on a separate stream. But we did a big chunk of that for like 3 hours at the beginning, maybe even longer, maybe 5 hours at the beginning, and then the nighttime section when it was kind of a good mixture of the right time for the US and the right time for Europe. So it was
Right.
like a early evening ish, like 8, 9 o'clock at night, but then that would have been
Mm-hmm.
like late afternoon ish for the US. Um, then we were able to get community games sorted. So it was like Among Us and Halo and all of that stuff. So it was again getting loads of people involved in that and having
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
But that's something that really drives us, and it always drives us as a community.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that we've created as well is the collective. The collective to us is to help new creators. So anyone, not even just struggling, but creators that might be doing the best and putting out really awesome content, but potentially aren't getting the eyes on them that they can be.
Right.
Or might need some pointers or technical issues, or even help with overlays or thumbnails or tips and advice or whatever it is. So I keep my eyes on quite a few shows, podcasts, creators, and really focus. And I've got right now 6 dedicated ones now. So we've got, as part of the Midweek Mixup Collective, we have Live and Split Screen with Pong and Steel. We have the Gamers Watch Crew. We have Talk Story Podcast. We have Xbox Mick. We have 1 Hour One Decision, and we have the General C as a separate creator as well. So far, and all of them we assist with different things, depending on what they need assistance with. So the Gamers Watch Crew, when we first started working with them, were audio only. They had no video podcast. They've now got a YouTube channel. They're now probably over 315 subs now as of counting.
Yeah.
Within the first just shy of a year on YouTube. So it's a good start for them. With it being a pre-recorded show, it's a bit harder to get a bigger audience. So it's just finding ways and means of advertising that properly. But really, for me, it's about growing these new communities and keeping these creators kind of not letting them put their head down when it's hard and quite difficult to grow or find a community. So because we've already got a relatively big community and we know a lot of people ourselves, it's essentially just spreading that, essentially paying it forward. So I know a lot of things about creation. I know a lot of things about getting podcasts set up, whether that be on StreamYard or OBS, whatever it is, overlays, new intro, create intros for people if they need an intro.
Wow. Nice.
Just for no cost. It's just to get them started. By no means is it like the level of work that the likes of Sean Labrie does, but it's a good starting point. So this is a nice little intro for you to start off with. It's got the kind of the basics in it. It's still got the pumping music that might get someone interested, and your logo is going to be there and things. But whatever we can do to help these creators grow, and we focus on, like I say, a set amount at a time, because we want to focus our energy into making sure that they're looked after. So whether that be helping with giveaways for the channels to kind of boost their growth, whether that be, again, constant retweets and quote retweets from ourselves to kind of promote them in an organic way. And then it's the background technical stuff. Do you need any help with X, Y, or Z? What else do you need a hand on? Do you need an understanding of YouTube's algorithms, which is a minefield in itself?
Yeah. Yes, please. Anyway,
to be honest, with a lot of them, the main thing is the understanding of YouTube and how it works and how to kind of be picked up by the algorithm.
Right.
There's a lot of tips and tricks around that, and I've sat through with a few of my guys and said, right, we'll have a good hour, 2 hours, deep diving into how your videos are currently set up, your thumbnails, the information you've got in these things, and I'll tell you which parts are important and which parts don't matter at all, and how to kind of boost the numbers up and the views and things like that, and what happens. And
nice.
That's a key focus for us going forward as well. And I'm still keeping an eye on a few creators that I'm looking at bringing into the collective. But it's about I've already set them targets. So the bigger shows, the ones that are doing well, I'm aiming to get them to 1,000 this year, 1,000 subscribers.
That's awesome.
The ones that are on the lower end of the scale, I want them between 300 and 500 subscribers this year. So, but it's just about boosting them and making sure they're having fun. At the end of the day, always tell them as well, if you're not enjoying something, don't do it.
Right.
It's not about creating something to please other people. It's about you creating something that you are enjoying or you're having fun doing. Because at the end of the day, if you're just creating something just because somebody asked you to create something, that's you're not going to get any enjoyment out of it. Your heart's not going to be in it, and the quality of it's not going to be as good. So do what you love and love what you do.
There you go. Good mantra. That's very true. And I tell you, man, you, um, that's why I enjoy this, is because getting to know more about the people that I see on different channels and different shows and different, YouTube, things is, I like gaming, big part of my life, playing games. A lot of fun. Used to be my, work for a while. I managed a GameStop for a few years. So it's like I get it. And, I love this kind of thing. And then the community that you help raise up, and that you know put your heart behind a lot of things, and I think it's great. And I'm glad that more people hopefully they'll get to watch this and know more about you and what you do, because it is, I mean, it's, you don't have to do any of that kind of stuff. You do it because you want to, because you know what it's like to start off, and you want to help somebody, and I think it's fantastic. So, dude, thank you.
Exactly. No, and you know what it is, and you'll be able to. You'll have seen it yourself, and you can see it from the outset. The people that are doing it for the right reasons are the people that are deserving of support. The people
Hmm.
that are doing it for the wrong reasons are the ones that you just let them crack on.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
there's a reason behind that, and the reason I bring on certain shows and certain people of we have our own principles in terms of our community and how we look after our community and our community growing. Um, our community are completely inclusive, which is one of the greatest things about our community. Like you jump
Yes.
into any of our podcast chats, and everyone is so welcoming and so happy, and everyone's having a laugh with each other and welcoming each other. And there is literally no bad blood. You'll never see a fanboy in any of our podcast chats. You'll not see any toxicity at all, which is nigh on unheard of in podcast chats.
Yeah.
Um, and if it does, our moderators know that that's not tolerated, and it's an automatic timeout. It's none of this pandering around and things in ours. It's a case of our communities there for everybody, regardless of whatever platform you play on. But
Right.
you just show each other the same respect. If you have fun, you have fun. You don't need to be like a fanboy about it.
Right.
Um, and the podcasts that we have, or the creators that we have in our community and our repertoire, have exactly the same philosophy. Like their communities are very much they're extremely non-toxic. They're all about having fun. The big communities, like growing and nurturing these really close-knit communities that all look out for each other and support each other. And that's exactly what it's about. And that's the type of shows that we look for, is these close-knit communities that look out for each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm really glad that you came on to do this today, and thank you so much for doing that. As we start to wrap things up, oh man, it's much praise to you. I really appreciate this, and I guarantee you that people that watch this or have to come away like, wow, this is awesome. They've found a lot of great things about you today, and I appreciate you sharing.
No
Let's.
problem.
I want to touch base on a couple of, whereas as we wrap things up, I always like to kind of end it on some quick questions. These are just two basic questions. One of them is like, what is your favorite game or game franchise ever? Like what is like, and if it's more than one, that's okay. We've had a
Yeah.
lot of people that they're like, I can't just pick one, and that's fine.
um, yeah, I have a couple for a couple of different reasons.
Yeah.
I will always say Flight Sim. Flight Sim has a place in my heart through my father.
Yes.
Um, Obviously, this is another personal thing, but a lot of people know this now. I have mentioned it online as well, so it's no big news. My father passed away quite a number of years ago now. It's like over a decade ago now. Um, but again, it was a big thing. I spent a lot of time playing on Flight Sim with him, a lot of time kind of making skins and things for planes and
Right.
trying new things out. He was in the airline business, so the Flight Sim, the flights, things like that, that's very much all close to the heart. So that's definitely a series that I've loved from the start. And we're talking like floppy disk Flight Sim.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
long back, all the way through to the newest one. And he would have been amazed to see it run on a console of all things,
Yeah.
considering the amount of money he spent to try and get that thing running on a PC back then.
Yeah.
So he would have been fascinated to see that. But that's a close to the heart one. Second one is one that started off my own console life, and that was Final Fantasy series. So
Nice.
I started off back to front, actually. So I started off the Final Fantasy series for myself on the PlayStation with Final Fantasy VII. And
Classic.
then I went back in time and played Final Fantasies 1 through 6.
There you go.
And then went forward and played 8 and 9, and then 10 and 10-2, and so on and so forth. But Final Fantasy series
Right.
all the way through. So if anybody talks to us about Final Fantasies and its glories and its good points and bad points, that's a touchy subject.
Right.
Because a lot of people like to defend Square for certain things, and they're not the Square of old. Put it
Right.
that way. And we know
Right.
what they can. So when people are saying, "Oh, the new Final Fantasy is coming out," I'm like, "It's not coming out for a long time." Like,
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 15 was 10 years and three directors. Like 16 is going to be just as equally as turmoil. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a mess. But by the time it comes out, it'll be good.
There you go. There you go. When it does come out, it'll be good. I was Final Fantasy 11 guy.
Oh,
I love that. Even years
I've still got
afterwards.
11 back there somewhere on
Yeah.
with the collector's edition.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I even play on well, I guess they were really called bootleg, but bootleg servers, where people would,
Yeah.
create their own stuff, and you'd have to get in there and do some SQL to try and figure out exactly what was wrong.
Yes.
Why is nobody leveling up? Oh, I gotta fix this. Kind of thing. So, so yeah, a lot of fun with that too. That's awesome, man. That's great. Final Fantasy is a good one. I know there's the Origins one that's coming out. It's made by the Team Ninja, I think.
Yes. Yeah,
And
I've actually got. You know where it is? That looks so weird. That game. So
yeah,
the cutscenes look terrible, but the gameplay
right.
looks good.
Yeah,
I don't know how that works. Like the cutscenes look really bad, but
yeah.
the actual gameplay looks pretty decent, pretty fun. So
Yeah,
I'm
I got
like,
it reserved. I'm gonna try it out. We'll see what
no,
happens.
same.
Yeah.
So
So I know if you reserve it at GameStop, you get a cool hat. I'm like, a hat. Woo!
woohoo!
Exactly. I'm so excited. All right. So one last question, and
Yeah.
that is, so what game are you most looking forward to coming out that
Yes.
hasn't out yet?
Yep. My most anticipated, my most looking forward to game is Hellblade 2,
Nice.
Senua's Saga,
Oh
100%.
yeah.
Um, not through just because it's Hellblade. For me, it's seeing what that company has done, what they are doing and can do, um, and pushing and the way they're pushing boundaries in technology and development. Um, Again, I like seeing the stories and the way they're pushing things out, and specifically their story, where of course it was just one of the essentially what was I think was Melissa Jurgens. I'm sure she was a QA or some kind of developer herself
Hmm.
with the company, and she never they needed an actress. They couldn't really pinpoint the one that was going to play Senua on the first one, and then they tried out Melissa Jurgens, and to this day, of course, she won multiple awards. Um,
Yes.
has her own health issues and mental health issues that she had to overcome for the role. So of course it was advocated for mental health, and they worked closely together with mental health people to get it sorted. And obviously the 3D audio was pushing boundaries that no other person had done, and that was just an indie company.
Hmm.
And again, having been acquired by Microsoft, having built them a brand new state of the art studio and development center, and audio and 3D capture and everything that could possibly their wildest dreams essentially in terms of what they need for development has been given to them by Microsoft in a fancy new studio. It's more just seeing what they're capable of and how they're going to refine what was already amazing in the first one and push those boundaries further. That's what's make me most excited. It's the
Yeah.
capability behind the studio more than the game itself. So yeah, that's my most anticipated.
I'll have to agree with you there. It is definitely in my top 10 for sure because it looks amazing. I can just hardly wait to play it and to see it when it's all finished and how it actually moves.
I
I
mean,
enjoy the first one, but
I
I
was going
think
to
this
say
is
they
so
only
much more.
used like Atmos surround sound 3D audio last time, and now we
Yeah.
know through obviously Forza Horizon 5 with ray traced audio. You can imagine Hellblade with ray traced audio.
Especially when
Woof.
the spirits are talking and
Oh
stuff to
god,
her,
yeah.
and oh my
And
gosh,
then
yeah, that's gonna
bouncing
be
off things and oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's gonna be
That's
insane.
it is gonna be wild. I'm definitely looking forward to that too. Wandering Dutch, sir, thank you so much for being on the show. Definitely, this is you're definitely, I could say, this is why I do this, because this interview was fantastic, and I really appreciate you being here and being a part of it. So thank you very much. Do me a favor, man, and tell everybody where they can reach at, where they can find you at, and all that kind of good stuff. And of course, everything will be in the show notes as well too. But this way it sinks in that they need to come watch it. They need to watch it. They need to subscribe. They need to take the pill. And I'm telling you, it's awesome. It's a ride. Go for it.
Yeah, yeah. I want to say a massive thank you to you for inviting me here today. Like I say,
You're
it's
welcome.
an awesome thing you're doing, and there's a lot of awesome creators. I know both currently that you've already interviewed, and already in the pipeline that you're interviewing soon. That is going to be awesome to watch as well.
Thank you.
So massive shout out to you. Awesome being here today, and thank you for this great interview. Um, so yeah, big shout out to you. Massive, hopefully, massive success for you as well, for you and your
Well, thank
channel
you.
going forward.
Thank you.
Um, and much like I do to everybody else, brother, if you need anything, you give me a shout, and I'll certainly be there to help.
Well,
All right,
I will do that. I will do that. I will do that.
definitely,
So,
definitely.
what day is your show on? What day does it usually air?
So yes, you can find us on the Midweek Mixup YouTube channel, which is at Wondering Dutch. That is every Wednesday, unless stated, it is 7 p.m. in the UK, which is 2 p.m. Eastern. Um, Last week, we of course made a change to that just to fit our guest in, which is obviously Miles from Windows Central Gaming,
Hmm.
Miles Dompe. We had him on at 9:30 at night in the UK, which which obviously, so we ran through till just after midnight, I think it was,
Right.
um, and that was a little bit of a later start. So we do that from time to time, but we do give advance notice. But usually 7 o'clock in the UK, 2 p.m. Eastern. That's 11 a.m. Central, I do believe.
Yep.
Um, so yes, that's every Wednesday, and we also have a Sunday show now, which is 6:30 p.m. or
Ah,
1:30 p.m. Over on Eastern. 11 no 10:30 a.m. I'm losing track of things now.
that's all right. That's all
Oh,
right.
dear me. Central Standard. So yes, and of course, if you have seen me like yourself on Boom Show, then you catch me on Primetime Gaming every Monday evening as well.
Yes. And like I said, that's where I discovered you, and went from there. I was like, well, I got to follow this guy. Let's go see what else he's got. So being on Boom Show definitely helps everybody. I'm telling you that right
Yes,
now.
it
So
does. Yeah.
So that's awesome. Again, thank you so much. Everybody can reach us here at outbreakpodcast.com. That's our website, and there we have a list of all of our social media. Plus, we do other YouTube videos besides just gaming. Sometimes we do interviews, and sometimes we do wrestling. We, our biggest video to date is a local wrestling show that has over 63,000 views. So there you go.
See, one of mine, strangely enough, my most viewed video is part one of a
Yeah.
disassembly video. Not the
Wow.
second part,
That's the second part.
not the part that puts it back together again. Just the one that takes it apart. That
They
one's got
figure they
like
can.
10,000 views or something. That one's
That's
like
awesome.
sailing away. But the second part's got like 400.
Right. All right. I guess they figured, once you take it apart, we just watch it in reverse.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Dutch, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you
No,
so much.
my honor. Thank you very much.
And thanks to everybody else for watching us here at Outbreak Gamers.